Hi, welcome to Voices. I am your host, Keith Major. The Seventh-day Adventist Church has been known for its promotion of health and has had lots of programs about stopping smoking, not drinking, not doing drugs. However, there's a phenomenon sweeping the Western Hemisphere, that being the incidence of diabetes as well as overweight and obesity. There is a solution to this problem. Sitting in studio with me today is Stephan Herzgov, who is the Director for Lifestyle Medicine Institute in North America. They have a program called CHIPS that I viewed, and I am ready to sign up for it now. You do not want to miss this program. Stephan,
Yep.
welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me.
Welcome to the Bahamas.
Thank you. It's awesome here.
First of all, what is CHIPS?
It's actually, can I correct you? It's CHIP.
CHIP,
CHIP
sorry.
is an acronym. Oh, good. CHIP is an acronym for Complete Health Improvement Program. And the reason why we use complete is because it not just talks about the way we eat and the way we move. It also talks about the way we think and the way we feel. And so we think it's a complete package, so to speak.
What is it about this program that you feel makes it the answer to the weight loss problems around the world?
Okay, I guess I need to start the roundabout way because when you look at the prevalence of chronic disease today, chronic disease makes up to 85% of our healthcare costs. So acute care and communicable diseases have taken a back seat, and most healthcare problems we have today are based on chronic disease. And when you look at the telly and you watch all the ads, every third ad is for another pill for chronic disease, which also give you 3 or 4 or 5 side effects to go with that. And so we have gone right back to basics, not necessarily reinvented the wheel, but you know, in the good book, it tells you in Genesis on how to eat. And then Daniel kind of picked it up. And then Ellen White picked it up. And for a long time, we felt that if we didn't smoke, didn't drink, and particularly didn't eat meat, we would be okay. But now we know that the idea of actually processed foods, you know, the high in fat, high in sugar, high in sodiums, are actually more dangerous than eating meat when it comes to your health.
Yes.
So I'm not making a spiritual statement, I'm purely making a health statement. And so even Adventists who have followed the church doctrine on no smoking, no drinking, no meat, have found themselves morbidly obese, have found themselves chronically ill. And so CHIP is unique in the way that it takes people through a program that measures pre and post-intervention biometrics. So it just doesn't give people information, but it then helps them to measure baseline and then takes them through a series of very carefully scripted audiovisual content to then help them change their habits and change their lifestyle. So when they come, not out of it at the end, because hopefully there is no graduation ever. There is just, now I have a new lifestyle that I'm going to do for the rest of my life.
Yes.
And because, again, another thing that is in there is the idea of most diets. So CHIP is not a diet, CHIP is a lifestyle. My most diets don't work is because they work on caloric restrictions.
I'm coming back to that.
Okay.
Let's come back to that.
Good.
Your website
Yep.
indicates that 50,000 people have gone through your program.
That's correct.
And more counting.
Yep.
You seem to be very confident that people's blood pressure can be normalized,
Absolutely.
that diabetes can be reversed, that lowering fasting blood glucose and lowering people's body measurement index, BMI. You feel confident about that?
Extremely. And because everything we do is scientific. The lifestyle arena can attract a lot of, I call it disrespectfully, voodoo. You know, things that people believe, but there is no evidence for their belief.
Okay.
What we do is all science-based. So the results, the pre and post biometrics, are rigorously screened and then we publish papers, and then we send them to very prestigious journals like the New England Journal of Medicine and the American Journal of Cardiology and the British Medical Journal. These people then peer review them and then publish, which is the validation that what you did actually works and what you have published is there. And so we are very confident because we have the published evidence that it is so. And obviously we have the anecdotal evidence from thousands of people who have gone through the program and just think it's the best thing that ever happened to them.
So tell me a little bit, just a little bit about the program. If I want to join the program, what's one of the first things you do?
The first thing we obviously do is manage your expectations. We tell you we want you to commit for 18 sessions, which seems a lot of time. But there is no quick fixes to the huge issue of chronic disease. And I think when you look at the downsides of chronic disease, the misery and the pain and the suffering it causes, spending 18 times an hour and a half to try to reverse the trend is probably a worthwhile investment. The second thing we do is we obviously manage your expectations in terms of having the biometrics taken, and then we explain to you how the actual program is structured. So if you take a 90-minute session, we have about 40 minutes, 45 minutes of audiovisual content, highly what we call edutaining. It's storytelling, it's telling people why we got to where we're at, what's going on in their bodies, what's going on out there, and then helping people to get to the solution, and then we challenge them to apply that solution in their own lives, and then we bracket their experience and discuss it. The other really important thing is that we structured the sessions based on the Bible study that you might have in your home, where you have a small group meeting where you read scripture together, and then you have a discussion. What does it mean? And what you do is you learn from each other, because the scripture might mean this to you, but might this to somebody else, and you learn from each other. And so therefore, it is a tremendously motivating, uplifting experience, because people often need each other to be their best and do their best. And as disease is contagious, so is health and happiness. And so when we study this together, so we play a bit of content, and we then ask people to discuss what was new to me, what might I have liked, what didn't I like, and what might I try based on what I've heard. And then we ask people to go try this at home, come back and share the experience. And so people learn from each other, keep each other accountable, and help each other. You know, the old saying of, carry each other's burdens, right? So we do this together as a community. And that's why it really, really works.
Now you had mentioned a word earlier, biometrics. Could you break that down a little bit more?
Biometrics is what you mentioned. So we measure, we do what we call a lipid profile. So you measure your blood pressure, you measure your blood glucose levels, we measure your triglycerides, we measure your good and bad cholesterol, right? And then we record this, and obviously we measure your weight, and so we can establish BMI, and we can establish what we call a baseline. This is where you're at. And then as you start doing the things we ask you to try, the whole thing is basically pitched as a self-experiment on yourself. Because we don't want people to sign their lives away. We simply say for 30 days, try to change the way you eat and change the way you move, and then watch what happens to your body and to your biometrics. And if it doesn't work for you, there's only two reasons. Either you didn't do what we asked you to do, or you're already well, right? Because the body has this self-healing mechanism. The creator who made us, he gave our bodies this incredible ability to heal itself. You know, when you have a scratch, you know how quickly it heals. The same is on the inside. If you have done damage to your body, it can be reversed by just living the way he intended us to live.
That's a wonderful promise, that those of us who have abused our bodies, I guess, and food and all of that, it can be reversed.
Absolutely.
Now, you're speaking to someone who, for many years, I've had an up and down weight problem. I have read every book, I've tried every diet, and I've succeeded and failed. And there's one component of all these diets, quote unquote diets, there's one component that I can't seem to get over, and that is the hunger one experiences. Does your program speak to that?
Absolutely. we know that hunger is not a sustainable state of being. I don't want to go hungry. I eat copious amounts of food. I exercise regularly, yes, but the caloric intake I have is obviously matches basically my caloric output. However, when you put caloric restriction into people's lives, they can only sustain it so long. The people with great willpower do it for a little bit longer. The people with less willpower will do it for a little bit shorter. But fact of the matter is, everybody will stop doing it because hunger is not a thing that you can live with for the rest of your life. What we teach, and that's why we don't call ourselves a diet, our program a diet. What we teach is the simple principle of high caloric density with low nutritional value, and we simply suggest to you that you change this into low caloric density foods with high nutritional value. And therefore, rather than asking you to stop eating certain things, we simply ask you to add certain things. Things like fiber-containing foods. If you suffer from constipation and you're always hungry and you eat high fiber-containing foods, your satiation will be great. Your belly will tell you, full, thank you. And your nutritional receptors will say, we have enough nutrients, thank you, and so you don't go hungry. But because it was low caloric density food, you might have eaten 500 calories and no longer go hungry. When you go to the fast food place down the road, you might have eaten 2,000 calories and now wondering what you're going to eat next, because now you're kind of animated to start eating, right? And that's the challenge. And so we simply give people the principles on how they can eat more, but way less.
Well, I'll tell you something, and that's very challenging, what you just said, because in preparation for this interview, I decided I would eat healthy. So I had carrots for lunch. But my mind is on the fast food I should have eaten. I'm still wondering if I shouldn't have eaten the fast foods.
Okay, and so again, what we're actually trying not to do, and I don't mean to be disrespectful, but there is a bit of a stereotype in people's minds when they hear, and we never use vegetarian or vegan words, because they're actually, you can be a very unhealthy vegan and you can be a very healthy carnivore. So it's actually not the labels we give ourselves, but what people don't understand is that healthy food can taste brilliantly, but most people have no idea how to prepare it. Most people don't understand that if you have your burrito, you could put in brown rice rather than white rice. And you could go easy on the cheese, but go more on maybe the guacamole and the salsa. And the taste is exactly the same without necessarily having the lots of cheese, lots of sour cream, and lots of meat in it. And so it's substituting gently, right? So that the palate will change. And I can promise you that we'll start to taste that carrot completely differently after you've gone through a CHIP program than before the CHIP program, because everything just normalizes itself for your taste buds and everything else.
Very exciting. Time has gone by so quickly, we have to take a break. When we come back, we'll talk more about lifestyle change with my special guest, Stephan Herzgov. We'll be back in a moment.
It has been the practice of the Seventh-day Adventist Church to believe in and to embrace what is known as religious liberty. By religious liberty, we believe that it is the fundamental right of a person to worship according to his or her conscience. And as such, as a church, we believe that it is our responsibility to fight religious oppression and to defend an individual's right to worship according to his or her conscience, notwithstanding that what he or she believes may not comport with our beliefs. Nevertheless, it is our responsibility to uphold that person's right.
Hi, welcome back to Voices. Again, my guest is Stephan Herzgov of the Lifestyle Management Institute. Welcome back to the program. We have had a very exciting time, and time is really moving quickly. So let's move on. There are some stories you have of success people. Let's take time for one of them. In the South Pacific Division, is it?
Yep.
There was a president,
Yep.
a prominent person that benefit from your
Yep.
program?
So LMI, the
Uh-huh.
Lifestyle Medicine Institute, is actually owned by the South Pacific Division of the Seventh-day Adventist Church.
Okay.
So this is a church-owned program.
And this covers which geographical area?
The South Pacific Division covers the Pacific Islands like Fiji, Vanuatu, the Solomon Islands, Papua New Guinea, and then it covers Australia and New Zealand.
Okay.
And so because of the owners, and because as Adventists, when we have the health message, sometimes people could be forgiven for thinking when they look at us that we don't know much about health at all. And I know that is an unpopular thing to say,
Yes.
but unfortunately it holds a bit of truth.
Yeah.
And we know that the biblical marketing plan, as I like to call it, says that we should take our message to Jerusalem, and then to Judea, and then to Samaria, and then the rest of the world. But we kind of always want to start off with the rest of the world first and skip the Jerusalem and Judea, which
Yes.
basically us.
Right.
And so the South Pacific Division decided, before we go and let this program out into the world and do it to other people, we're going to do it ourselves. And so the South Pacific Division ran the CHIP program in their offices, and although the president himself couldn't attend because he's always on the road, his wife and his son attended, and through by osmosis, obviously different cooking at home and sharing of the principles, he himself lost over 50 pounds so far, and he has become not quite the ultimate picture of health, but he is just so much healthier, right, than he was before. So yes, it truly works.
And that leads me then into another aspect of your program, which is the exercise portion. Tell us a little bit about that.
A lot of people are really scared about exercise because they think exercising is meaning pounding the pavement, you know, with your heart pumping and your tongue hanging out. What we actually teach people is it's regular movement. So we coined this acronym called SOS. The first S standing just for sitting less, because we have become so sedentary, and this machine here is made to move.
Yeah.
And so prolonged periods of sitting is now considered the new smoking, because the health damage from prolonged periods of sitting is being seen as equal to if you smoke. So we teach people on how to break up their prolonged periods of sitting. The second,
You said sitting is the new smoking.
Absolutely.
Pause for a minute.
Go Google
Sitting is the new smoking.
Or the health benefits of regularly moving, or the damage it does to your body is equal to that of smoking if you have a very sedentary lifestyle, because the enzymes change and your metabolism changes, and that is not a good thing. So S is for sit less.
Okay.
The O is for oxygenate, because we can live for weeks without food. It's not much fun, but you can. You can live for days without water, but you can only live for minutes without oxygen.
Okay.
Right? And so this idea of oxygenate just means with air, breathe more. So do things that get you to breathe. You know, regular walks, you know, like just doing things that make your lungs suck in the oxygen. And the last S stands for the strengthen and stretch, because it's really important that we stay supple as the older we get, and particularly as we get older, that we continue to strengthen our muscles, because we still have to get off our chairs, we still have to get off the toilet seat, we still have to get off all those things. Wouldn't it be wonderful if we didn't have to have things to help us up, because our muscles still worked and functioned? And so also when we fall over and trip, our bodies are much more able to catch the fall, or when we fall, because the bones are obviously packed in muscle, and strength exercise also strengthens your bones, that you don't break things and you can get back up and move on normally. So that's a big component of the program too.
I'm excited. I'm really excited. Tell us a bit about your program also involves mental health.
Yes, it does, because we believe that when you talk about complete, you know, we used to say mind, body, spirit, right? And I think that is probably a bit of an esoteric saying, so we don't use we don't use that language, but we have a big, I guess, component in there. Things about, like, the past doesn't have to be your future. There's many people who grew up in environments where they've been told they're worth nothing. And this idea that you reprogram your mind, you know, in our Christian environment, we know that if I truly believe that I'm a child of the King, things change in my life, because my self-worth and my acceptance of myself starts to improve, and therefore my acceptance of others. And so we help people through that process. The idea of forgiveness, you know, not holding on to the past and remembering the bad things that happened to us and rehearsing them over and over, but being able to let go, not forgetting, but just remembering differently without the emotional damage it does to us all the time. But we deliberately do that after we've done the physical and the nutritional things, because people first need to get the fog lifted off their minds a little. And once they start to think clearer, now they're obviously receptive to address some of the things that goes in between our ears, because those are often the cause for our, emotional eating and some other things that we do.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
I have another question back on food, on eating. Some programs say eat 3 times a day. Some say eat 6 small meals. What ideally should we do?
We don't actually prescribe that, because we think it's much more important what you eat and how much you eat of that, right? Again, if you eat the healthy things, so I personally prefer to have breakfast and then as a snack maybe an apple, and then I have lunch, and then I have an afternoon maybe another piece of fruit, and then I have small dinner. But I still stick with Ellen White, who said eat like the emperor for breakfast, right? And then like a nobleman on lunch, and then like a pauper for dinner. So I try to stick with that too, but it's intensely personal. We much more talk about debunking myths like, you hear of the paleo diet, or you hear of low carb diets, and all of those things. And we address more things like this to say, hey, carbs are actually really good for you, but it's the refined carbs, the processed carbs that do you the damage. So if you eat the pure carbs, a potato is one of the best sources of starch you can put into your body, and starch is the purest fuel for your cells. So there's a direct correlation between eating good potatoes and being strong and fit and healthy.
So I can go to buy a pack of French fries.
Okay, and I appreciate the question. So let me make the Pringle example.
Go ahead.
There's about 13 potatoes in a packet of Pringle, and it's about 2,000 calories. When you eat those 13 potatoes in the Pringle style, right, you almost feel hungry after. You need to have a soft drink, and then you want to eat some stuff, right? Could you eat 13 potatoes in one sitting?
No, cannot.
No way, right? So you eat 2 or 3 potatoes, and you're completely full. And that means your caloric intake was maybe 200 or 300 calories, and you're satiated. While with the other, you had 2,000 calories, which is more than your entire daily need, and you feel hungry. And then all the liquid calories that we do, a milkshake has 2,000 calories too, and we think it doesn't count. Because liquid calories don't count, right?
They do.
So we educate people more so like this than prescriptive. We're not being prescriptive. The key is we give people a spectrum, and we say, you choose where on that spectrum from bad health to optimal health you want to be. And because there is a dose response to lifestyle medicine, we have the idea, we say, we teach you the science. You then make the choice on where you want to be on that spectrum, and we won't judge for whatever choice you make.
Beautiful. You spoke about eating like an emperor. One meal. I always wanted to be an emperor. So all my meals are like an emperor. I do not want to be a pauper. However,
fair enough.
However, if you eat like an emperor, you will
look like an emperor too. Yes.
Well, we could sit here and talk all day about the aspect of this program. You seem very excited about it, and you came.
I am.
Why are you here? And who have you seen since being here in the Bahamas?
So we were invited by a lady called Ida Mahana, who obviously is one of the movers and shakers on this island in terms of health, and Adventist health in particular. And she, through her own volition, invited us to come here to run a CHIP facilitator training, because the way we apply the program is we teach people how to do this themselves, because all the knowledge is packaged in the audiovisuals. You can be an absolute lay person and deliver this program. But we certify people, so we know that we have a certain standard, and because also there is insurance rebates for this program for certain illnesses and whatever, we obviously need to have a bit of a compliance framework around it. But we have now visited the utility company, we visited the telephone company, we visited the people over at the large hotel that is down, the second largest employer on the island. Yes, and we visited a bank, because these are people who are looking for employee health. And they realize that their healthcare premiums are going up and up and up and up, and it's just not a sustainable thing for people to have greater and greater and greater health expense. And it's also, again, if we want to bring health and hope to humanity, most people work somewhere. And so if you can enter either through a faith-based organization like a church, or you enter through an employer, or you enter through a hospital, through specific disease groups, endocrinology, taking the diabetics and teaching them how to reverse their diabetes, or taking cardiovascular patients and teaching them how cardiac rehab, so after their stent has been put in, how can I eat now and live so that my stent doesn't start to clog up again? And this is the last incident that I had of heart disease, and from now on I'm going to do things to come good again. So we work with all those groups, and that's why we're here.
Well, my producers have signaled me that we only have a few minutes left. One question I have for you, did you visit any of the health authorities here?
We visited with the health insurance, the government health insurance that's going to come in.
National Health, yeah.
National Health, yes. And so we had a conversation there, because one of the things we want to absolutely stress, this is not antagonizing our medical community.
Right.
This is working with the medical community. And one of the things that we do in many countries is we actually make our programs available for free to educational institutions, as in medical schools, so that physicians who traditionally don't get taught on lifestyle medicine are at least clued in. So when they do have the diagnosis and do make a prescription, one of the options they will have going forward is prescribe a lifestyle medicine option, what we call an intensive therapeutic lifestyle change option, rather than just a pill for the ill, right? And so, yes, that's...
So as we near the close of this interview, I just can't get over the fact that you seem so confident about your program's ability to work. And when I watched your video, and then when I see you and I looked at you, it looked like they made you up, but we don't do makeup in here. You have this luster on your face. You look so young. You're exuding health. And so there's some realism about this program that is hitting me. What is it that drives you in this program? Personal, I guess.
Look, I've always wanted to be healthy and well, but I actually ate terribly. I always kept my health through exercising like a madman. I've reduced my exercise to a quarter that I used to do, and I adjusted the way I eat. So Dr. Deal, Hans Deal, who's the founder of the program, obviously taught me how to eat properly, and I can eat more now than I ever have, and I truly feel on top of the world. And being able to take a passion of yours and go and tell it on the mountains, over the hills and everywhere, I reckon that's really cool.
Well, our time is up. This is an interview I hate to see ending, but time is time. Stephan, thank you very much for having you on the program. This has been Stephan Herzgov, who is the Regional Director for North America of Lifestyle Management Institute, Lifestyle Medicine Institute. I'm so fumbling here. But nevertheless, I am just so excited about this program. There's a song that is sung in some Adventist circles, and the name of that song is called Sign Me Up for the Christian Jubilee. And as I say to you viewers today, I'm saying to Stephan, sign me up to this program. The Seventh-day Adventist Church is interested in your health. In fact, the General Conference has said that evangelism and health message is going to go together. You are the solution. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.
Until next week.
My name is Tiara Murray, and I am a second-year medical student and also a member of Grantstown Seventh-day Adventist Church in the Bahamas. The main words of encouragement that I have for those who are pursuing their education at non-Adventist universities and schools is to remember the close connection between truth and love. You want to be able to love those that you interact with, your colleagues and faculty members, and to also share the truth in love. Don't be afraid. God is able to take the little that you have and make it much. And He says that His strength is made perfect in our weaknesses. And so even if you don't know it all, that's okay. God will take the little that you have and multiply it to do a great work.